Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. Our topic is Finding Hope in Unusual Places. And I'm very excited and proud to welcome the star of our show. He's the founder of TalentC. He's an international certified mentor, and he is also an internationally best-selling author. It's Doug Lawrence. Come on out, Doug, and join us.
Hello, everybody, and hello to our viewers and listeners all over the world. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today as we go on a bit of a journey and we get to explore some different things. And I encourage you to join us and type in some comments, some questions, all of those great things to be part of the show as you will get from it what you put into it, so to speak. So welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Doug. Can you please do us the honor of showing us your book and reading from it?
So it's a good thing you reminded me to show, because I usually forget to show the book. So that's a good thing. So I certainly, I'm truly pleased to be able to provide an excerpt from the book. So it goes as follows. My journey to mental health was not a quick or an easy one. However, I did ultimately make the changes in my life that were necessary. My wife, Deborah, knew that there was a better person in my body. She and our children worked hard at getting me to see what that better person really looked like. They became that support structure that I needed, but I was certainly not pain-free for them, as they experienced all kinds of behavior from me that they did not initiate. It ultimately required me to change my career. I left the police force as it was the root cause of most of my trauma. As I moved on with my career, there were triggers that would generate memories of events that occurred which were unpleasant. Workplace bullying seemed to follow me on my career path. Not knowing how to deal with these situations made things a lot worse. Not having the support from the workplace made things worse, almost as though the bad behavior was being encouraged or at least tolerated. It follows the old story. If I'm not told that my behavior is incorrect, I therefore assume that it is acceptable. How wrong were we to embrace that thought process?
Wow, what comes up for you when you read that to us?
All kinds of different memories of not so good memories, especially, the workplace bullying, that it's hard to believe that in where we are in today's society and all of that, that there's still unacceptable behavior such as workplace bullying that is still taking place. And, I experienced it in a couple. During my time in the police force, I went through, working with an individual that was a workplace bully. And when I moved on after I left there that was my reason for leaving, was to get my health back on track because of what I had experienced from a bullying perspective. But I went from there to another position, and actually another couple more positions, and it was kind of like what the book says. It seemed that was following me, and that's exactly what was taking place. Was each of the two repetitive places that I went to after I left the police force, I ended up experiencing workplace bullying, and some of it to a greater extreme than others. So it still exists. It's still out there, and all of us listening and viewing audience today, you need not accept that as acceptable behavior, and you need to start to tell people that, I'm sorry, I find your behavior offensive, and deal with it.
Yeah, it is hard to believe that some of these things are going on and the degree to which they're going on, and then the outcomes associated with this kind of behavior. So, our show today, we focus on how to overcome adversity, what that looks like when we're on the other side, and also where we can find hope and inspiration. Today, we're talking about hope and hope in unusual places. And I think what I'd like to start off with this is, how many times has it happened to you that you have this mental list of things that could potentially happen to you or could potentially go wrong? And then something that is not on the list, clear out of the blue, you never even thought about it, boom, it comes to find you. And the same thing happens with hope. We count on our inner circle or whatever it is that gets us through the day. Maybe it's our affirmations or meditation, and something joyous, something amazing, incredible comes and happens to us, and we never would have expected it. So, where do you find hope when it's in not something that is what you would expect?
I guess the one that sort of jumps to the front of the list for me was going through the writing of You Are Not Alone, and all the hoping that it was going to provide people with the direction that they were obviously hoping for, and to be able to provide that to them. So my hope was that the book would address some of those concerns, and at the same time also that the book would be recognized for just that it brought answers to a lot of questions, but it also gave people the hope that if they were to think about what was contained within the different stories that are in the book, that if they were to take some of those and make them their own, that it would change. It could be a life-altering, life-changing experience.
Doug, I'm also wondering, if you look at this visual, this graphic behind us, there's this image of the sun. There's an image of the metamorphosis of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. And that, of course, inspires hope. The fact that it's possible to change, the fact that the sun rises and sets every day without us doing anything to facilitate that. And I feel like that's how hope can be as well. Just a quick story. I was traveling last week, and I was at the airport, and I went to buy a bottle of water. And of course, the price of water is ridiculous, and I hate buying a bottle of water. But anyway, the bottle of water was $5 and some cents. Anyway, it ended up that I had a 5 and I had a 20. So I wasn't able to get the bottle of water because they had no change. The cashier had no change. They're used to cards. And this woman came out of nowhere, and she handed me $1. And I never would have expected that in a million years, if you know what I'm saying. It's so there are things out there in the world, as horrible as bullying is and some of these other things, there are also things in the world that are so beautiful and so vibrant and out of our control too.
No, it's, and can you imagine how that made that person feel when they were able to be in a place where your call for hope and a solution to your situation, where she was able to step forward and, give you that dollar. And as a result of that, you're able to get your bottle of water. It's when things like that happen that you kind of go, we're not dead in the water here yet, that there is still hope, and there are still good people out there that, will do all sorts of good things. I think of the one that is most common around here where I live is people going through the drive-through at the restaurant, and the people that are say ahead of me in the lineup to order a coffee and a pastry or something like that, is the aspect that the person ahead of me pays for my coffee and my pastry. And so then it starts the whole pay it forward idea, and it just reinforces, like I said earlier, that it reinforces the aspect that, there are still good people out there who still want to make a difference, who want to help the world to become a better place.
Yes, absolutely. And when something like that happens, and this is what I said to the woman, I said, I will pay it forward. And so imagine if every person pays it forward. I think there was a movie about that many, many years ago. It actually brings a smile to my face thinking about all of us doing things without being told, just because we want to do them that way. It's amazing. Now, I'd love to have you touch on, as an international mentor working with people, what is the relationship between someone who is optimistic versus pessimistic or realistic, and the way that they live their life? So their lifestyle and then their perspective about life. Is there a tie in there?
I think so. I think that, from a person who is optimistic is looking at it from a very positive perspective versus somebody who is not. And, I think that, when you think about that, is where does that, I always want to go back to what's the root cause? Why are they acting the way that they are, or why are they behaving the way they are, and get to the root cause of the problem. And it's, the big thing from my perspective is that I think we're in a better place to be able to help others. We're in a better place to be able to help the world become a better place than, say, what it is today. But that can only be done by being optimistic versus pessimistic, because the world wants to embrace positivity. It wants to be able to move forward in all kinds of different fashions, and we need to be able to, to be the support that is needed in order for that to take place.
Yes, yes. I also think in the last show we were talking about behaviors that could be attributed to being lonely, or feeling alone. And I also think that if we have a lifestyle that, I'm using air quotes, is fast and free, and we're out drinking and partying and we're staying up late, that we may wake up and feel depressed or feel sad or feelings that are counterintuitive to those of hope. Whereas if we're living a life that is in service, gratitude, affirmations, journaling, those types of things, that we may be more likely to be hopeful as opposed to someone who's a pessimistic person. Excuse me.
Yeah, definitely. And though, as we've been talking about this, I'd done quite a bit of research on the idea of happiness. And so happiness fits into what we're talking about here. But there's actually a country, it's Bhutan, Bhutan, that is renowned for the country operating on the principles of happiness. And so they go through, I think there's 9 different pillars, all of which are happiness focused, but the whole country operates based on that philosophy. And that's one country. Why can't every country in the world today, globally, why can we not get to a state where, we're all kind of going in the same direction from a happiness perspective, and then sort of being able to, the more happier people are, the greater the hope is that we're going to be able to accomplish some great and wonderful things. But we can't do that if we're pessimistic and we're not even willing to go on the journey to find hope.
That's so true. And I love the fact that you used the word journey, because there are things in life that are for a moment, and that moment will pass. When, in my opinion, when we live a life that is a journey as opposed to just single events happening at different times, we're more likely to find hope and find inspiration, because we're taking a step back, as though we're the eagle soaring over, and we're getting a perspective that's much broader, much wider.
No, I would agree. And I like the analogy of the eagle soaring over, because you think that could be you, that could be me, that could be any one person who is soaring over all over, looking for that one small glimmer of hope that they can maybe land in a tree, as an example, and find something, a treasure of some sort. But their hope was that as they were flying around and hovering over different things, that they would in fact find that glimmer of hope and embrace that, and then move on from there to another place, and to see what else they can find.
Yes, I agree with you. There was a story in the news recently, and I don't remember the specifics, but a woman was doing some work in a cave, and I can't remember what she was doing. And did you hear about this? And she was in the cave for a very long time, days and days and days, and didn't want to come out. Was doing everything like having a full life in the cave. And someone else would look at that and say, in a cave? I don't want to be in a cave for 3 seconds. And here she found some kind of fulfillment in that situation. So I think, again, it's our perspective, and that if we're open, if our heart is open, we're going to find more hope and joy than if it is closed off and we're sitting in a place of judging everything, and woe is me, and why is this happening? And we've said this before, instead of, I'm glad that this is happening for me. It's amazing that how can I take what's happening and make something of it?
Yeah, that's true. And you think, oh my goodness, what that lady was going through by being in the cave, and the idea of being at peace with everything that was around you, because you could take that, by being in a cave by yourself, as that you're an individual who thrives on solitude, and there's a good example for what we had talked about on the previous show about the whole idea of loneliness and all of that. She is definitely someone who is in touch with who they are as a person, and is okay with where they are as a person, and saw this as a golden opportunity for greater insight into who they are, and what they may be capable of doing, simply by going into a cave, and going in there with little or no amenities, and making the best of it.
And that's what I think makes life so interesting, and people so interesting, is that we all have our own unique perspective and experiences. And also, people come in and out of our lives for various reasons. And somebody might be right there at the exact moment, like that lady was for me with the dollar. And then and I have never seen her since, obviously. And I don't know what the reason was why she was there at that moment, but it gave me renewed hope in the generosity and the goodness of people.
Well, and it's also the aspect that somebody was watching over you, and saw what, the dilemma that you had been placed, given to deal with. And here was this person who, is an individual who is of service to others, who decided that, that there should be no reason why you shouldn't have that, no shoulds in life. There's no reason why, you couldn't have that bottle of water if the only thing that's between you and the water is $1. She stepped to the plate and made that so.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Doug, about expectations? And what I mean by that is so many times in life we have expectations about how things are supposed to be, air quotes again. And to me, I've been working on this really diligently in terms of not having expectations of other people. Now, what do I mean by that? When we expect something from someone and it doesn't happen, then sometimes we feel angry, but sometimes we feel hopeless because we really wanted that to happen and it didn't. So, what I've really been working on is I'll give it just an example. Let's say you have to go to the drugstore, have to pick up someone's prescriptions, and there's always a long line. I say to myself, I'm not going to drive over there because I don't have the time right now. Well, I'm going to be like a crazy person. I'm going to be waiting in line, looking at my watch. So now I go when I expect it I hate to use the word expect, I think I'm going to have to wait. And now I'm prepared. And so now I don't have those negative feelings that are coming up for me. So I'd love to just find out what your thoughts are about how we manage expectations so they don't interfere with our hope.
I think that in a lot of cases, it's all about, and I'll use the analogy of having expectations of others, is that I need to have those conversations with those other people to be able to say, okay, we're going on this journey together, and what is it that you expect of me, and conversely what I expect of you. It's almost like we're kind of borrowing from the mentoring coaching toolkits to be able to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, and this is what I expect, because I know that I can even take and carry that forward into some of the relationships that I have even, today, where I have to be mindful of what their expectations are of me, but even just as importantly, we need to be mindful of what the expectations are of the environment as a whole that feeds into that relationship. So, am I respectful of their time? Am I respectful of where they are with certain things? If they're somebody who's going through the grieving process, am I respectful of that? And all of those things. So it's a matter of having that conversation, but at the same time, making sure that we have established or set expectations that both of us are comfortable with. And if we can do that, then I think we're going to have a meaningful relationship and a journey that is going to be of value to both.
Excellent points as always. Doug, I'd love for us to talk about the influence of our environment. And I just mentioned this a couple minutes ago. We've got this beautiful, bright background behind us. If we had maybe a black background, do you think the feeling would be the same as it is with this yellow background?
I don't think so. And part of the reason for that is that, the image itself does tell a story, and the sunshine, the color, the overall color of it brings out a feeling of positive energy versus one of negative energy. And I mean, ultimately, we all want to become butterflies, but not necessarily will that happen for all of us. So it's an understanding that, we're going to go on a journey, and some of us are going to become butterflies and some of us aren't. And we need, when it comes back to the expectation part, we need to be comfortable with that and sort of set that expectation for ourselves to be able to say, we're going to go on this journey, we're going to give it our best shot, and we may or may not become a butterfly at the end of that journey.
I love that. And I think also as we're on the journey of the butterfly, we might not want to come out of our cocoon depending on what is in our environment. That means the people, that means the setting, that might mean how much sunlight we're getting, that might mean the amount of noise that we're subjected to. A lot of these things I think can impact us in a negative way. And if we start to remove them, I'm not an expert on this, but I kind of feel like that's the premise of feng shui, that setting yourself up to be as successful as you can be based on the calendar of, I don't know, I'm not explaining it correctly, but I feel like in order to have the opportunity to be hopeful, we have to take it into our own hands and look at how are we showing up in life? What does our environment look like? And how are we living? What is our lifestyle like? Is it conducive to one filled with hope or one that is filled with dread and remorse?
No, and all of that is, is there, those are really good points. And I would encourage, our viewers and listeners to think about that. So think about everything that Dr. JACALYN has just finished sharing with you, and sort of put that in a place where you can, tomorrow morning, for example, you get up and you think about all of those elements, and you map out in your mind what is something that you're going to be comfortable with moving forward to be able to reach that conclusion.
Doug, I just love exploring these topics with you because it sounds very deep, right? What we're talking about feelings, we're talking about the way that we show up and the way that we look at life. And the question might come up, well, I'm hopeful. I do my affirmations. I meditate. I pay it forward. I am of service. I am here helping people. And this really bad thing just happened to me. So, how do we explain that? That's many times when people fall from religion or fall into religion because they're looking for an answer about why, if I do all the right things, has my hope just been taken away from me? And now I have this issue that I have to deal with and I don't want it.
Everything happens for a reason, and we need to be able to take that step back and sort of, what is it that I've learned from this experience, from this opportunity? And I look at how I view everything that is negative in my life. I've also looked at it through the lens of what can I learn from this? And not so much trying to sort out or figure out why and all that sort of stuff, but more importantly is, how can I turn this not so pleasant of an event into something that I can learn from and possibly share that learning with others as they go on their journey.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Doug, I'm looking at this butterfly behind us, and I put this design together, and I just thought from a graphic perspective, it was nice and fluid and a lot of the things we already discussed. But the two of us are there on the butterfly. And when you think about a journey, okay, this is, you and I are on a journey in this show, on this platform. How does someone align their butterfly wing with someone who has a similar perspective when it comes to hope?
The big, when you were saying all of that, I got thinking, well, how can, one person align with the other? The only way that can actually take place is they, number one, need to understand what the expectations are of both. But more importantly, you need to be able to communicate effectively what those expectations are, and what you hope that you're going to realize as a result of going on that journey. And I think if you're able to do that, then the two of you are going to be able to continue your journey, and now it's going to be potentially together.
And by the way, when we think about the two people taking the journey, it could be you as an international mentor taking a journey with your client.
True. Yeah, most definitely.
And
Yeah.
it could be someone that we haven't even met yet. Like, for example, this platform, you came to this platform and now we're on a journey together. Other people come, and every day we're meeting new people and having the opportunity to put our butterfly wing with someone else, whether it's a romantic relationship, a professional relationship, whatever relationship it might be. So once again, I think it comes back to having that open heart and filling yourself with hope.
No, I agree. I think that, the whole idea of the relationship and it being a part and parcel to, it filling the heart and all of those things, I think is we need to be able to have that take place more often than what it is today, because when I take a look around and I think about all the different people at various stages of a relationship that I'm blessed to know, I think that there are times or periods for sure that we could do things a little bit differently, and it would sort of shake up the direction that we're going, and it may be for the positive versus something it may be more positive than what it is already.
Very, very true. And I'm sorry, wrong button. I just thought to myself, that expression, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. And I found myself even today, I shared with you, I had an appointment with my gastroenterologist. And long story short, I have to go for another colonoscopy because he wants to make sure that even though I feel great and I look well, that doesn't mean that I am, which I thought was interesting. But I was upset for maybe 10 minutes because I don't want to do it. I'm leaving here to go to New Jersey for the summer, and I just, whatever, change everything around. And then I left and I thought to myself, I am really blessed that I actually found this doctor, because he's a new doctor, who cares so much, because he said to me, I can't sleep knowing that you're going to be traveling and we don't know that this thing's under control. We hope it is, but let's find out definitively. And I thought, how blessed am I that somebody actually cares? How many times do you go to a doctor and they just sort of rubber stamp you, or whatever, you look good, goodbye, see you in 6 months. So I took that glass and I filled it to the top and said, I am really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of in much the same. My storyline kind of runs in parallel to yours, where I'm truly blessed with the doctor that I have, who leaves no stone unturned and always has my best interests in mind. And, I credit her with, she doesn't like it when I tell her this, but I credit her with saving my life by getting me referred to, a cardiologist, because I was having heart problems, and she saw that and did work some magic on her end and got me in to see this cardiologist. And as a result of that, we've gone and made some changes health wise, and I've got a pacemaker and all that sort of stuff, none of which would have happened if it had not been for her.
Thank goodness. Yes, that is truly a blessing. So I just want to say thank you to the physicians out there who really do care, and to all the people in the healthcare field who they put their life on the line every day, work long hours, and have to deal with the public. And we're not always that pleasant sometimes, although Doug and I are pleasant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, I think as we're coming toward the end of this show, what I'd like to leave people with is sort of a toolbox, if you will, a toolbox of things they can do when they realize that they have lost hope, or when if they feel their hope slipping away. Are there things that we can put into their toolbox to help them?
There are. And I guess one of the main things is to not see when it happens like that, your hope is slipping away or it's changing directions, is to embrace that, number one. Number two is to look at it from the aspect of what are the opportunities I'm being presented with here to perhaps change who I am as a person, to be able to help me communicate better, to help me establish expectations. All of those things are really important. So the main gist of where I'm going with this is that to not look at it from a negative perspective, but look at it from an opportunity-rich experience that's going to potentially have life-altering experience for you.
And Doug, you work with people all over the world, and I know that you've shared before that you have an approach that is not probably the norm. You really have opened yourself up to help as many people as possible. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I work with people. I've worked with entrepreneurs in the Caribbean. I work with U.S. military personnel in the United States, and I work with obviously entrepreneurs right here across Canada. But now I've kind of branched off into working with individuals who are dealing with mental health issues, mental health challenges, and using the mentoring toolkit as a means to be able to do that. So I do have a global reach, and I'm always open to to be of service to others. Whether you fit that model or not, I'm only a conversation away.
And people just have to show up with an open heart and be receptive to getting support.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's one of the challenges, is that I know this myself from speaking with people, that they know things aren't quite right, but they don't want to do any work. And I always have to laugh at that, because everything takes work. If you're going to build anything, right, there's steps to building it. And we are a complex system, and we have to actually put the effort in. And of course, you hear this all the time. I don't have the time. I'm not happy, but I just don't have the time. Well, then stop complaining. Because if you're not going to make the time to make a change, then it's on you.
Yeah, and what I typically will tell people is, if you don't have the time, then let's take a look at why that is, and let's kind of make a list of all the things that you would like to be able to change. Let's prioritize all of those, and then let's decide which ones are must-dos and which ones are nice-to-dos, I guess, and move forward that way. And all is not lost. We can, definitely do a number of different approaches and stuff. But at the end of the day, saying that, you don't have the time to be the best that you can be, that's not the answer I'm looking for.
Exactly. Because when are you going to get that time?
Yeah.
And, it's some people, they'll think in the next lifetime, that's when they'll do it, or whatever. But for this lifetime, this is where we have to do the work. And Doug is available to assist you. So I say this all the time. Please reach out, go over to his LinkedIn. He is there. You will find him. You will see him on Facebook. You can get his book over on Amazon, and he wants to be here to help you. So please do reach out. Doug, as always, what are some final words that you can leave our audience with as we close out Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity?
The most important thing that I want you to be able to take away from today's conversation is that, every piece of movement that you can make towards being a better you, every time that you can take something that maybe you had hoped was going to turn out a way and it didn't, we need to take a step back and learn from those opportunities and turn them around to become something of a more positive nature. And I always look at it from the aspect that if a country such as Bhutan can have a country that is riddled with happiness, then why can't we?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'd love to have you here on the screen with us. And if you are not someone who wants to be on television, you have a fear factor, we understand that. Send in your story. Email us. You see Doug's information right here, and we don't have to say your name. We can just actually share your story and talk about it and give you some suggestions and hopefully give you some hope.
No, I agree 100% with that. And, you know, some of the stories that I share, some of those could very well be somebody else's story as well. So, you know, feel free to, as Dr. JACALYN has mentioned, feel free to send us in your information. And, you know, like she also said, is we'll do what we need to do to you know, if you want to be it kept confidential, we can certainly do that. And think of all the people you're going to be able to reach out to, and think of all the people whose life you may very well make a difference simply by sharing your story.
And we're both professionals here, so your information is confidential. We will show you the highest level of respect. Doug, another great episode. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone watching or listening. We will be replaying this show and the show right before this, probably 5 or 6 more times this week. So you'll get to see it. And after that, you can find it on our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. Our next show is coming up. It's at a new time. It's Pet Psychic Amina. So please do join us, as we're going to be talking about seahorses today. I love little seahorses. They're so cute. Yeah. They're so, if you think about like an organism, how small that is with all of the different, the lungs, and it just amazes me. It's a miracle.
Yeah, that it is. And I was just thinking, and they're all always filled with hope.
Yes. And people see them and they smile because it just brings joy to your heart. So that's what we'll be talking about on our next show. So thank you again. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Bye for now. Bye, Doug.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.